like 3,000, then 4,000, and just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then my name is Dylan, and this is my story of how I went from being a pretty standard kid in high school to now I own over $1.5 million worth of real estate. I just bought my dream car. In a couple weeks, I'm moving into my brand new custom home. I run and manage a sales team that does over $6 million a summer, having a net worth of over $500,000, and how I did it in just 3 short years. Now, I don't say this in any way, shape, or form to brag. I genuinely say this to inspire, as I've watched these videos a million times, and I really wanted to share my story because I feel like I'm one of the few on here that didn't get success through drop shipping or day trading or all these crazy online things that you always see. I feel like my story is just a lot different and truthfully just a lot more relatable to a lot of you guys who potentially might have been in the same spot I was. Now, going back, I definitely didn't grow up, this super crazy rich kid, but I also didn't grow up super poor at the same time. When I was 2 years old, my parents actually ended up getting a divorce. Now, obviously, I don't really remember this that well, but it definitely had a financial impact on both my mom and my dad. I never even knew that my finances with my family was so tight. My parents both did a great job of hiding that from me, but as I grow up now and I look back and I talk to my parents, I really didn't realize how tight they really were on money. Now, I remember growing up in this trailer house eating, the microwave ramen noodles and mac and cheese and all that stuff, and at the time I thought it was awesome, not really knowing, how bad maybe my parents were struggling back then. Fast forward, as I got into elementary school, my parents started doing a little bit better. We ended up getting like a normal house. They were divorced, so I had to go back and forth from my mom's house to my dad's house every week. I definitely wasn't that kid who was struggling. I was always active in sports, and anything I did, my parents were very good at providing me with what I needed to excel, whether it was equipment for sports or, I wanted to sign up for something. My parents were always awesome, and I never really struggled that bad financially. So fast forward a little bit, as I got into high school, that's when I found myself just dive fully in to the YouTube finance world. Now, I've always loved YouTube. I've always loved watching videos, but it wasn't until high school that for some reason, I just caught myself all the time watching YouTube videos on real estate, stocks, and just, drop shipping, making money, whatever it was. And I always remember from when I was little, even in elementary school, I was always just wired to want to start a business or be an entrepreneur or look at real estate, whatever it was. I just loved it. And I remember my very first real life job. I got a job working in retail at a store called Tilly's, a clothing store. And I remember I would take every dollar I made from that and go throw it into the stock market and just gamble day trading options. And of course, like everyone, I lost all my money, but I just remember seeing my account once double in like 30 minutes and I was hooked. I was like, there's so much opportunity, I have to send it. And so every dollar I made from my normal job in high school, I would just put into stocks and all these crazy things, or tried to drop shipping store or whatever it is. You guys have probably all done the same. And I just remember always trying to start something or do something to make money. And really I failed at basically every single one of them. I really didn't make any money doing any of it. Actually, I know I lost all my money doing all of it, but I just remember I was always so hungry to start something, to try something. Fast forward, I get a full ride scholarship. Basically, I go out to Hawaii. It's everything it seemed. I was on a golf scholarship. I was on the island. It was amazing. It was literally a dream come true. Culture shock for sure, but I had so much fun. And then we fast forward to about halfway through my freshman year. I tried a couple drop shipping stores. I was really trying to find something where I can make money, and I just kept failing and failing and failing and failing, right? Then all of a sudden, March 2020, it's the end of my freshman year. We all know what happens. The Rona comes in and it literally changes everything. And so the entire world shut down. Hawaii especially was very strict. And so all of a sudden, within a matter of days almost, the entire school shut down, and basically everybody I knew on campus went home, except for my girlfriend and a couple of my friends. Everybody went home. And so for me, I was like, this is awesome. I'm staying here. This is gonna be the best summer ever. No one's here. All the tourists were gone. It was amazing, right? Then I got a phone call from my brother. This is the first time I ever heard of this job, this industry, what I ended up doing to change my life. And my brother basically was like, hey, you should come work with me this summer. I did it last summer. I made 10 to 15 grand. You'd kill it. You should come out and work with me. First off, I was like, well, what do you do? And he's like, well, we sell pest control door to door. The minute I heard that on the phone, I was like, I'm good, bro. Appreciate it. Love you. Call you later. Absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go leave these beautiful beaches of Hawaii, have the dream summer to myself to go sell pest control door to door. He kind of bugged me about it for a couple calls. I was like, no. Then fast forward to mid-May. All of a sudden, my girlfriend and my friends, they're going home for the summer. And I kind of realized I didn't really want to be by myself for an entire summer. That's not that fun. And also, I, again, just had this itch in me every day. I was on YouTube, like watching videos, trying to figure out how to make money. Because at that point, I really wanted to just save up some money and go invest in some real estate. I remember my brother called me one more time. It was like mid-May. It was May like 16th or something. And he's like, bro, come out here, you'll crush it. And I was like, where even is it at? And he's like, we knock doors in Minnesota. A light bulb in my head went off and I was like, where'd you say? And he's like, Minnesota. And my girlfriend is actually from Minnesota. Kind of went off my head like, wait a second, like maybe I could kind of do both. And he's like, come out, you can hang out with your girlfriend and you'd make, 10 to 12 grand. It'd be a great summer, which was a lie. We work so hard, I can't hang out with my girlfriend. Last minute, I'm sitting there and I'm like, you know what? F it. What do I have to lose? Why not? No one's here anyway. And who knows, maybe I can go make 10 to 12 grand. Because at the time, I've never made any sort of money like that. I bought a plane ticket out there. I bought like $1,000 iPad and sent it and kind of took a risk. Within 24 hours, I was in Minnesota. And this is where like craziness happens. And looking back, I still think about this and it almost gives me goosebumps. Because I remember I pull up to Minnesota, I get off the plane, I hop in an Uber, and I actually met my brother in a neighborhood because I didn't have a car, I didn't know where it was. He's like, just Uber to me. You can take my car, go to the apartments, change whatever you gotta do, but Uber to me first. So I remember I Uber to my brother, I get in his Jeep, I go home, and I go to Target, get some supplies, kind of chill. And then I remember I come home that night and they're doing training, and I'm like, what are these guys doing? Like, they're talking about selling bugs, they're dressed up as like technicians, and they're just talking about all this crazy nonsense. And it was like something I've never seen. I was in a room with like 60 people who are just having fake conversations about selling pest control. And I'm thinking to myself, like, where am I? What did I do? And that was just the start of it, right? So the next day was my first day. I had literally zero training, essentially. I didn't really know exactly what I was doing. All I knew is you knock on doors and you have to sell pest control contracts. That's all I knew. I remember my brother, he drops me off in my hood and I'm like, whatever. I'm a pretty outgoing person naturally. I'm not really afraid to talk to people. And so I remember being like, screw it, whatever. Go knock on my very first door. And I'll never forget this. I knock on my first door, and at the time I didn't know what this was, but there's a fat no soliciting sign right on the middle of the door. I knocked that door loud and proud and I go, hey, my name's Dylan. I had the worst pitch of all time. I'm like, pest control, bugs, I get rid of it. Give me your credit card. Basically was my pitch. And this lady, I'll never forget, she looks at me and she goes, can you not read? And I'm like, what? And she goes, do you not see my sign? Can you not read? It says no soliciting. And I was like, oh, I can read. I'm a good reader, but I don't know what no soliciting means. And then basically she was like, get the F off my door, get the F off my property, and get out of here before I call the cops. And so I remember just being so shook. I was like, okay. Until you do door-to-door sales, you have never ever will know what it's like to be treated worse than garbage men, worse than people work at McDonald's. If you think you have it bad, go knock some doors and feel how you get treated. And I remember I've never ever been talked to or treated like that. So to me, I was like, oh my gosh, like I was appalled, right? I was so flustered. I walked down her driveway and I literally sit at the end of her driveway on the curb, smack right in front of her property, which looking back probably wasn't the best place to take a seat, but I just sat at the end of her driveway on the curb. Remember thinking to myself, like, what did I just do? Why did I, leave this beautiful island that I had to myself for the summer? There's no tourists. I was surfing every day. Why did I just leave that, go to this Midwest state that I've never been in to sell pest control door to door? I'm like, what did I just do? Why? Like, I remember thinking to myself, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate, I remember thinking, there's no way this actually works. And if it does work, it only works for a certain amount of people. There's only a few people who could actually do this. There's no way like a normal random person could do this. And I remember just sitting there like, why did I leave? I just felt like sick to my stomach. I was like, what am I doing? And then I also remembered that I'm not a quitter and I don't like to quit things. I'm very much almost prideful in a way where it's like, I don't want to give up on something until I know it's impossible. I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, you know what? I've already flown out here. I've already spent $1,000 I didn't have on an iPad that I was financing. I already bought this flight. Like, I'm already here. I remember saying to myself, I'm going to give it my absolute all for 2 weeks. I'm going to go as hard as I can. If it doesn't work out, then I can at least say I've tried my absolute hardest. And then worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, I'll just go hang out with my girlfriend for the rest of the summer in Minnesota and go back to Hawaii. And so I got up from that curb and I went to the freaking next door and started knocking. And sure enough, later, about an hour later, I'll never forget, I knocked on this door and I did my terrible pitch. And this guy goes, bro, I have ants in my bed, in my bedroom. I was like, well, we do that. I'll spray whatever. I get rid of those. And he's like, do you take credit card? And I was like, I do. And I remember my first sale, it was the biggest laydown. I got my first sale. Then a couple hours later, I ended up getting like 2 or 3 that day on my first day. And so I was like, okay, maybe there's a chance. The next day, I went out there, got like 4 or 5 deals. And every day, I just kept getting more and more and more and more and more. And then I realized, like, wait a second, not only is this possible, I'm really good at this. Then this is where it gets crazy. About a week after that, I got my first check from knocking, and my first check was $1,000. It was like $1,100 or something. And I have never ever in my life got a paycheck more than like $300 or $400. Like I said, I worked retail at Tilly's. They're not paying like that. It blew my mind. And the minute I saw that, I was hooked. I don't even know how to describe it. I was just hooked. I was like, oh my gosh. Not only did I just make $1,000, but I can decide how much I make. And I'm good at this, so maybe there's something here. The next week I crushed it. My check was like $2,000. The next week, like $3,000, then $4,000, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And then before I knew it, I actually broke our company record for the largest cash bonus at the time. Back-to-back weeks, I got $7,000 checks and just bonuses from selling. You know, fast forward to the end of the summer, I ended up being a top 10 rookie. I was number 3 in the entire company. Basically, you know, in 2.5, 3 months as an 18 to 19-year-old in college going into my sophomore year, I made $150,000. It absolutely blew my mind, and it was like the definition of a get rich quick. And I say that very, very clearly. It was a get rich quick, but not a get rich easy. I worked my absolute ass off, and I was hooked, and I worked harder than anybody I knew. I knocked way more doors than anybody I knew. These guys were taking off, getting lunches and doing all this stuff. I wasn't. I was so disciplined, and I just busted my ass, and it paid off. And that summer was a really pivotal moment in my life. I made, like I said, I was 18 or 19 years old. I made $150,000, which was, you know, crazy. I got back to school that year. No one believed me, of course. I mean, how could you believe an 18 or 19-year-old that says I made $150,000 selling pest control door to door? My parents didn't believe me. No one believed me. Who cares, right? I bought my truck. I got back to school. I bought a Toyota Tacoma. It was my baby. I love that truck. It was perfect for Hawaii. I miss it so much. I just sold it for my Tesla, but I souped it up. This is when I kind of pivoted into, okay, I got some cash now. How do I make more of it? And so I was pretty good at not spending my money on stupid things. The only thing I really bought was my Tesla. I splurged a little bit on like my cameras and my YouTube gear because I've always been obsessed with wanting to make videos. But other than that, I was pretty good about saving my money. I was very frugal when it came to spending money on myself, but very just over the top when it came on trying to spend money to make more money, to the point where it actually hurt me. So midway through that year, after I bought my truck, I kind of bought some stuff. I was saving money pretty good, and I was just like, I need more, I need more, I need more. And when I say I was frugal spending money on myself, I really was. I was just over degenerate spending money to try to make more money. And so that year I ended up losing the GameStop. I lost $10,000 in about 2 minutes. I just started getting really ballsy and risky, but not in a calculated way. And long story short here, I ended up losing $62,000 that year just by trying to gamble with options and be a day trader and all this crazy stuff. I was being stupid. I was being risky, but I wasn't taking calculated risk. I was gambling. And before I knew it, I looked back at my tax return as I was down $62,000. And so for me, that was a big eye opener of like, okay, just because you make money and you're being risky doesn't mean that that's good. You have to be smart and tactical with what you're doing. So after that, I was wrapping up that year. I was going back for summer number 2. I ended up hiring like 10 of my friends to come out and sell with me. That year, my team did like $1 million. I sold $500,000 personally. That year, I made like a little bit over $300,000. So I basically doubled my income. And now that year for me was another year of trying things that just didn't really work. I tried drop shipping. I tried stocks a little more. I tried long-term stocks. I couldn't quite do real estate yet because I didn't have a 2-year tax return history. So I was trying to find ways to make money. I ended up losing probably another like $20,000 to $50,000 in trying things and investments and so on and so forth. Didn't really buy anything crazy that year. I ended up saving a lot. That was the first year I saved over $100,000 in my bank account. Then go into my third summer. This was my biggest summer by far and my craziest earnings year. So that third summer, my team ended up doing about $2.4 million. I did $630,000 personally that I sold. And after everything, I partnered into our Minnesota office where I now owned a part of it. I ended up making right around $500,000 at about 21 to 22 years old. And that summer for me was the biggest one. And that's by far, at the time, the most money I ever made. I had more money than I knew what to do with. And so I finally had 2 years of work history. And that's when I really started to scale and and kind of make my money work for me. And so I ended up buying a house in Tempe, Arizona. It was like $650,000 when I bought it, put like $150K down. I ended up doing some other private equity investments that have been looking really good. And then ever since, it's kind of just been more and more smooth sailing to where I'm at now. And now, you know, I look back, I just finished my 4th summer. My team did over $6 million in 3.5 months. And it's just crazy to see how I've grown from 18 to 19 years old to I just turned 23, you know, 2 weeks ago. And it just blows my mind of how far and how crazy I've grown as a business guy, an entrepreneurship guy, an investor, a human being, leadership skills. I've hired probably 100 plus people at this point in my career, and it's just crazy to see that all of this comes from me knocking doors selling pest control. I don't think knocking doors selling pest control is an end-all be-all necessarily, but it's my cash cow at the moment, and I've just been taking everything I make from that and trying to invest it and grow it. And now, you know, it's pretty crazy to see what I've amassed up to. And again, I don't say this to brag or be, you know, in your face. I genuinely say it to inspire, to show you that, like, you don't have to be that drop shipper. You don't have to, you know, be a day trader. There's a million ways to make good money. There's a million ways to do it, but the one common denominator in every way is you have to bust your ass. And I know that's a fact. And now, you know, I sit here very blessed. Like I said, I own a little bit over $1.5 million worth of real estate. I'm moving into a brand new house that I just bought. It's being built. It'll be done in like 3 weeks here. I just bought my dream car, a Tesla Model X Plaid. You know, I can travel, I can do whatever I want, and it's just crazy. And so that kind of brings me to where I'm at now, present day. And I really wanted to put this on record and kind of tell you my goals for the next year. So in a year from now, my goal on paper is to be worth $1 million net worth. In 1 year from right now, I finally want to hit the 1 million mark and be worth $1 million net worth. And also another side quest that I have started and I'm going to commit to is YouTube. I've been dreaming about doing YouTube my whole life. I've loved watching YouTube. I've always wanted to make videos. I've made videos my whole life, even in high school, about random stuff. And I just love the creativity of it and setting up a camera and see an idea in your head get filmed and then get edited and just come to life. And there's something special about it, and I love it. I genuinely love it. And so I'm committed, and my goal in 1 year from now, by the end of 2024, I want to have 100,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So that's where I'm at present day. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm so excited to make more videos about, you know, investing and making money and also having fun. I don't want to just be a finance nerd. I want to have like fun videos. But other than that, I really just wanted to share my story. If you're sitting behind that screen and you're wondering, you know, what should I do? I don't know if I know any skills. I want to make money. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at DillSmith24. Who knows? Maybe you can come out and sell pest control. Whatever you decide to do it with passion, do it with pride, take pride in what you do, and most importantly, bust your ass. And I promise you, anything is possible. And the minute you achieve something, you'll start to understand that the sky is truly the limit. So I appreciate you guys. Like this video, subscribe so I can hit my goals, and I'll see you in the next one. No kizzy, no cap.